Hey, it's me, Mia, and welcome back to Faith's Butterfly Vlog. I know I keep changing name, but this one is going to stick. All right, so remember to check out these QR codes for Damsel and also for Safe Hearts. More on that later. So this week, it just went by so quickly. I learned some new experiences, and it made me help be a little bit appreciative about, about where I am. But I also was happy to get the experience to be able to challenge and maybe even try it again. So basically, I had 2 days in this week where I was in both the infant room and with preschoolers. So the infant room was actually, I'd say, it was most of Monday. It went by so quickly. There was a lot of things to learn. There was a lot of routines. Like I really felt like I was kept on asking a lot of really obvious questions to the other teacher, and and it's just it was just completely different than what I was used to, which is kind of silly for me to say because I have been with like close to the same group for most of the time I've worked for the school or as a child care teacher and provider. I don't like using worker because I think we're more than just daycare workers. I think that anyone who works in daycare are a little bit more than just workers. Anyways, the room was structured in a way that I thought was really interesting. You're able, like, there's a lot of half wall, so it'll be easier for you to see the kids. But that doesn't mean that you can't, you know, that you can't like avoid looking through blind spots. Make sure you have to be observant. That's something that I learned big time this week. That I need to work a little bit more on my observation, paying more attention, looking not just in my with my eyes, but also looking with my ears. So there was that. On Tuesday, it was the water day for my group, the Rugrats, like I like to nickname them. And we had water day, but only two of the kids came with their water stuff. And I didn't want to just let the other, children in my class not be able to take part. So we had a little small sensory table that was filled with water. Been using it a lot the last I think few weeks. So we filled it up with water. We put in a little bit of toys, and so we make sure the kids still be able to have fun. And so the kids who had the swimsuits, they were okay with splashing and whatnot. And I tried to make sure that the kids who were didn't have swimsuits didn't splash as much. But of course, kids are kids, but they weren't like too like wet, and they had extra clothes usually, so that was good. So everyone still managed to have fun and take part, even though they weren't completely prepared. And then when I came back inside that after the activity, I wasn't really sure what to do because the day before I was working in the infant room, so I didn't really get a chance to look over my curriculum, see what materials that I was going to use. So I quickly looked through it, and I was like, yes, this is it. And I could tell you about this activity. It's called Peel It Off. It just takes painter's tape, you know, probably one of the best tools to have for some of the most interesting and creative activities. And I just basically took pieces of painter's tape, put it on the wall, and the kids just worked on peeling it off. They loved it. Like they saw on the wall, they were like, yeah, like they were, crowd around, and I would just put like another piece of tape on the wall, make sure kids all had a turn to try the activity and not be left out. They were just having fun. They really did enjoy it. We did another activity using sand painting, which basically is paint, but then you put sand over the paint, and when it dries up, it makes it have that feel of that texture feel to it. And it was an activity that I think was done before, but I was able to help with like taking part in that activity, which was really fun. Like we had a big piece of like it's not butcher paper, but we had a big piece of paper for everyone to just do their own like painting like strokes, and then we just threw some sand over it, and it was just really fun. And also, like this is something I'm going to talk about briefly. Like it was something that I actually came to me today that I realized. Like there was like a few weeks we had like certain kids, like we were like wondering why are they acting like this, why are they not this and not listening, why they keep trying to climb on things, why are they not being nice to their friends. And it came to me, I realized that a lot of them are either going through or they are entering into the phase known quote unquote as the terrible twos. Like it's not something that like at first you would think that it's just something that you just kind of had like that label that it wasn't really a big deal, but from my experience of working um, at the school, it is a big deal. It is a real thing, and it's made me kind of realize that kids, like I said, they are kids, and they are will get to an age where they could trust what they are going to test what they're going to do. They're not going to probably not do anything, over the top. Like this age, probably not going to do anything super ridiculously over the top crazy, but they might do little things that you would not be like happy with. Like I said, bothering their friends or trying to climb furniture, or in my case, taking other kids' cups or toys. But it's something that we work on being towards more redirection. And it's something that I was told when I started is like practicing with the tone and your reaction of um, towards what they're doing. We have to still remain calm, speak even, and it's something I'm especially working with one of my little kids. Like he is the most energetic and the most like adventurous kid, and I realized that like the reason why he does all of these things is because he's hyper. So I'm working on being more calmer when I'm redirecting him, and that's something that I'm learning for myself in order to help better the kids in my class. So Wednesday was just kind of like a free day for the kids. We had buttons. We had practice shapes with buttons, and the buttons are large, so it was not worried about choking hazards and things like that. And then I did some prep for activities for later in the week. Like I cleaned out the sensory table. I desanitized some toys that I was going to use for another activity. I actually made grabbed some flowers and put them in ice cubes for a frozen flower activity. I might explain a little bit about that next week. And also, like I said, working more on redirecting in a more calmer tone. So that was just kind of like a breezy Wednesday, surprisingly. And then on Thursday is where I decided to help out with preschoolers. Like I have mentioned before that I wanted to try and get experience working with preschoolers, but I've been kind of antsy about it because just like with infants, it is a completely different energy with preschoolers. I was telling someone about my experience of what it was like with the class or with preschoolers, that age group, and I described it as herding a troop of untrained clowns. They're having fun, they're being silly, they're energetic, but it's hard to just get the room to get together just a little bit. It doesn't have to be the whole, try to play complete attention, but just try to guide them just a little bit more. It started out pretty okay. I did have one child who got upset twice within a short amount of time, but I guess it was a little bit easier because not many kids were in diapers, but still, like it kind of made me realize like the kids in my class who, when they had, had their moments of, I hate to use the word, but little moments of tantrums, and maybe very appreciative of those tantrums than the ones there, with the preschool class. But still, it was still kind of a nice experience. It was nice having kids that when you talk to them, they actually talk back. So, for that, I think it was another day, that things kind of ran in together, but I think that was also part of me not having like the full experience of, the different type of energy that was in that class. And, we spent the, afternoon just outside, just having fun outside. And, it's just, once again, a day that just went by very quickly. And of course, today, this past few hours of today, which you're going to be watching this tomorrow, but watching this on Saturday, but technically yesterday was Friday. We were all ready for Friday, basically. Like we did an activity which I thought was really fun. I thought it was going to be something that we would enjoy, which was basically it's called simply paper and glue. We just have put glue on some paper, and then we provide kids and materials for them to make a collage. We used oatmeal, we used pasta, we used also felt shapes. I think the kids really enjoyed it. Oh, we also threw some sand in there. We can't forget the sand. And I think everyone had fun, but it took a lot longer than we expected it to. We had a lot of friends who, of course, it's this age group. They didn't want to sit down. They were just kind of moving around. And I realized that I think even though there were times that this process was successful before, I think that I would probably going to take a break from the way that we or I do like art styles in no, not art styles, do art activities in the art room. I think it's fun, working with someone else, but I think it takes too much time. There's a lot of kids moving around. The reason why they're walking around a lot is because they're bored, not really doing anything, not really doing anything to occupy themselves. Like, I think it's easier to have the kids to have like a smaller group who are doing activity all together instead of just having a large group and we have to do someone one at a time because we don't trust that kids are going to sit still long enough to do the activity. I've done it before with with a group of kids working at the same time. It was messy results, but still everyone had fun and we were able to do it in a shorter amount of time than expected. So, but of course, that's also contributed to poor time management on my part. So I'm not going to blame it completely on the method, but also on time management. So, with that, like, it's just some things to learn. Like, this was definitely a week that I felt like I learned a lot, and I want to try to put more into practice. Better time management, a little bit better observation, changing the methods of how I do activities to make it more effective over the group that I'm working with. And if it means having to, work a little bit less with other people in order to get the day to run a little bit smoothly, then so be it. It's just whatever would be best for the kids. So that's what I learned for this week. Make sure you check out my QR codes here, Damsel Store and the Safe Parts line. I have more videos coming out on social media about these, so please stay tuned. And remember to stay blessed and really beautiful, friends. You have a great weekend. You have a blessed weekend. And I hope to see you guys able to get the rest you need so you can be prepared for the next week. I know I will. All right, friends. Bye.